All right, today we're going to tackle a really important topic: how to build the perfect visual standard operating procedure for any sewing operation. We're talking about turning your best methods into a rock-solid standard that anyone on your floor can follow every single time.
But let me start with a question for you. What do you think is the biggest hidden risk on your production line? I'll give you a hint. It's not machine downtime, it's not material shortages. No, it's something way harder to spot, but it can absolutely wreck your quality and consistency. And that risk, it's something called tribal knowledge. You know what I'm talking about? It's when all the best techniques, all those little tricks, and the critical know-how for a really complex job live inside the head of just one or two of your star operators. So what happens when they call in sick, or take a vacation, or leave? Exactly. All that knowledge walks right out the door. The only way to fight this is to build a system of repeatable quality, where the best method isn't a secret, it's documented, standardized, and owned by the whole team.
So how do we do that? Well, the tool that gets us there is what we're calling the Visual First SOP. And look, this is not your old school text-heavy manual that just gathers dust in a binder somewhere. No way. This is a dynamic, super clear, and actionable guide that lives right there at the workstation where the action is happening.
This right here, this quote, really gets to the heart of it all. Clear, visual SOPs turn tribal knowledge into repeatable quality. That is the entire philosophy in a nutshell. We're taking that expert knowledge out of one person's head and making it the gold standard for everybody. Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty. What does a great SOP actually look like? It all starts with the header. Now, this isn't just paperwork. This is basically the mission control for the operation. You need the specific machine, you need the target talk time, that's the rhythm you have to hit to meet customer demand, and the SMV, or standard minute value, so you know exactly how long the job should take. Then, of course, the right materials, and, this is crucial, a revision number and a date. You've got to make sure everyone is always working from the latest version.
So how do we actually build one of these things? Well, it all starts with capturing that perfect method, and you're going to get it directly from the experts you already have, your operators.
You can think about the whole creation process in three pretty simple phases. First, you prepare. That means you define the one single operation you're focusing on and get all your tools and components ready. Second, you capture. You find your most consistent, best operator, and you photograph every single key step of their process. And finally, you draft. That's where you put all those photos together into a clean, easy-to-understand document.
And hey, the good news is you do not need to be a professional photographer to do this. The key here is clarity. That's it. Just use good, stable lighting and a clean, neutral background if you can. A fantastic rule of thumb is one wide, one close-up for every step. The wide shot gives you context, and the close-up gives you the critical detail. And most importantly, let the pictures do the heavy lifting. Use simple arrows and labels instead of big, dense paragraphs of text.
Now, a huge part of this process is making quality objective, not subjective. There should be no gray area. You need crystal clear go versus no-go standards. A go piece, it meets every single spec, period. A no-go piece has a known, identifiable defect. Having this black and white distinction empowers your operators to make the right call every single time without having to guess.
And here's a brilliant way to communicate those no-go standards. Create a simple NG or not good gallery. You show a really clear picture of a defect, like puckering, and then right next to it you list the most common cause. This is so powerful because it doesn't just help operators spot mistakes, it helps them understand why those mistakes are happening, which is the first step to preventing them.
Okay, so you've done the work, you've created this beautiful document. But you know what? That's really only half the battle. A perfect SOP is totally useless until you actually bring it to life, right there on the production floor.
Implementation also follows three simple phases. First, you've got to validate it. Do a trial run, get a formal first piece approval, make sure it actually works. Next, train the team, and I'm talking a quick 10 to 15 minute huddle right at the station, using the SOP as your teaching tool. And finally, post it. Laminate that thing to protect it and mount it at eye level right on the machine where no one can possibly miss it.
You might be wondering, why 20 to 30 pieces for that validation run? Well, that really is the sweet spot. It's just enough to confirm that the method is stable, that it's repeatable, and that your cycle times are realistic before you roll it out to the whole line.
Okay, tools like this parameter matrix, this is what makes an SOP a true game changer, especially during those hectic style changeovers. Instead of an operator guessing at the settings, they have an exact recipe for every single fabric. Think about it.
Switching from heavy denim to a delicate satin, they know the precise needle, thread, tension, and stitch length. This just eliminates a massive source of setup errors and defects. It's huge.
All right, the SOP is created, it's validated, it's posted on the machine, so we're done, right? Well, not quite. The final, and honestly the most important step, is making sure it stays relevant and that people actually follow it for the long haul.
You have to stop thinking of an SOP as this static document that you create once and forget about. It's a living, breathing part of your continuous improvement process. So you create, you validate, you train, but then you have to audit, you have to get feedback from the team, you have to revise it, and then you repeat that whole cycle. It's a loop, not a one-and-done project.
And to keep that loop healthy, you have to avoid these super common pitfalls. The #1 killer of a good SOP? Too much text. Seriously, if it looks like a novel, nobody's going to read it. Also, be obsessive about listing every single parameter. Make your quality checkpoints big, bold, and impossible to miss. And finally, you have to have strict change control with those revision dates we talked about.
And really, it all comes back to this one core principle. If you only remember one thing from all this, let it be this. Let the images carry the message, keep captions short. The real power is in the visual.
Look, the most important thing you can do is just get started. Don't try to standardize your entire factory overnight. That's a recipe for failure. Instead, just look at your production line and ask yourself this one question. Which single operation, if we standardize it with a visual SOP right now, would make the biggest impact? Start there.